Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Frontier, watching the stars through the massive viewport. The year was 2157, and humanity had finally cracked the secret of faster-than-light travel just 6 months ago. This was only their third deep space mission beyond the solar system. "Captain, we're picking up something strange near Luna Station," said Lieutenant Danny Brooks from his position at the sensor console. His voice carried a note of concern that made Jake turn around quickly. "What kind of strange, Danny?" Jake asked, walking over to look at the readings. The numbers on the screen didn't make sense. There were massive objects appearing out of nowhere around Earth's moon. "Sir, I'm reading 12 large vessels. They just appeared. No engine signatures, no heat trails, they're just there." Danny's fingers moved across his controls, trying to get better readings. "Captain, these ships are huge. Each one is at least 3 times bigger than our largest battleship." Jake felt his stomach drop. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now it seemed they had their answer, and it was coming to them. Red alert. "Get Admiral Park on the line right now," Jake ordered. The bridge lights dimmed to red, and warning sounds filled the air. Crew members rushed to their battle stations even though nobody knew what they were fighting. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Park was in a meeting with the Global Defense Council when the emergency call came through. She was a tough woman who had served in space for 20 years. Her short gray hair and steady blue eyes showed she had seen many crises before, but nothing like this. "Admiral, we have first contact," Jake's voice crackled through the communication system. 12 alien vessels near Luna Station. They appeared without warning." Lisa stood up from the conference table. The other council members looked scared. "How big are they, Captain?" "Each ship is about 2 miles long. They're not responding to our communication attempts. They're just sitting there, watching us." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment. Every person on Earth had dreamed of this day, but in their dreams it was always peaceful. Scientists meeting scientists, sharing knowledge and friendship. This felt different. This felt dangerous. "I'm coming up on the next transport," Lisa said. "Do not approach those ships. Do not fire any weapons, just watch and wait." 3 hours later, Lisa was aboard the Frontier, standing next to Jake on the bridge. The alien ships were still there, silent and massive. They looked like nothing humans had ever built. Their hulls were smooth and dark, with strange patterns that seemed to shift in the starlight. "Any word from Earth?" Jake asked. "Every government is in emergency session. The people are scared but trying to stay calm. Half the planet is watching the news, and the other half is in their basements," Lisa replied. Suddenly, Danny called out from his station. "Admiral, one of the ships is moving. It's coming toward us." The alien vessel approached slowly, its size becoming clear as it got closer. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, with curved lines and surfaces that seemed to glow with inner light. When it stopped a few miles away, a beam of light shot out from it and surrounded the Frontier. "They're scanning us," Danny reported. "The beam is going through our hull like it's not even there." Then the communication system came alive with a sound none of them had ever heard. It was like music mixed with the noise of grinding metal. Slowly, the sounds changed into words they could understand. "Primitive vessel. You will prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in destruction." Lisa stepped forward. "This is Admiral Lisa Park of the Earth Defense Forces. We welcome peaceful contact with your people." There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, and now it sounded amused. "You believe this is a negotiation? You are incorrect. Prepare your leaders for transport to our vessel. You have 1 hour." Jake looked at Lisa. "Admiral, we don't have to do this. We can fight." Lisa shook her head. "With what? We don't even know what their weapons can do. We have to buy time for Earth to prepare." She turned to the communication system. "We accept your invitation. I will come aboard your ship." An hour later, Lisa found herself in a transport shuttle heading toward the alien vessel. The shuttle bay that opened to receive them was enormous, easily big enough to hold 10 ships the size of the Frontier. As they landed, Lisa saw her first alien. It was 8 feet tall with skin that looked like crystal. Its body was thin but strong, and its face had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. When it spoke, its voice was the same one they had heard before. "I am Supreme Commander Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire. You are the leader of this system?" "I represent Earth's military forces," Lisa replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "What do you want from us?" Zethkar made a sound that might have been laughter. "What we want is simple. Your world has resources we require. You will surrender control of your planet to us. And if we refuse, then you will die." Zethkar gestured to a wall, and it became transparent. Lisa could see Earth floating in space, beautiful and blue. "Observe the power of the Vorthak Empire." A beam of red light shot out from the alien ship toward a nearby asteroid. The rock, which was about the size of a city building, simply disappeared. There was no explosion, no debris. It was just gone. "Your weapons cannot harm us," Zethkar continued. "Watch." Another alien brought forward a device that projected a shimmering field around itself. Zethkar nodded to a guard, who fired what looked like a plasma weapon at the shield. The energy blast hit the barrier and simply bounced off, leaving no mark at all. "Our shields have protected us for 1,000 years. No weapon can penetrate them. Your primitive lasers and missiles are useless against Vorthak technology." Lisa watched the demonstration, her mind racing. The aliens were right. Humanity's best weapons were energy-based: lasers, plasma cannons, particle beams. If their shields could stop all energy weapons, Earth was defenseless. "What are your terms?" Lisa asked. "Simple. You have 7 days to prepare your world for occupation. After that, we will take what we need by force. Many of your people will survive to serve us. Resist, and none will." Back on the frontier, Danny Brooks was studying the sensor readings from the alien demonstration. Something about the shield pattern caught his attention. The energy field didn't stay constant. It seemed to cycle, growing stronger and weaker in a regular pattern. He saved the data to study later. Lisa returned to the shuttle with a heavy heart. 7 days to save the world, and she had no idea how to do it. The aliens were right about their technology. Humanity's weapons were useless against those shields. As they flew back to the frontier, Lisa looked at Earth one more time. Somewhere, down there, 6 billion people were living their lives, not knowing that everything was about to change. She had to find a way to save them. She just didn't know how. 6 days remained before the alien deadline. On Earth, every government building buzzed with activity day and night. President Martinez had called together the smartest people from every country. Scientists, military leaders, and engineers worked, without sleep, trying to find a way to save humanity. Dr. Amy Rodriguez rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the computer screen in her laboratory. She was the head of theoretical physics at the Global Defense Institute, and right now, the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. For 3 days straight, she had been studying the data from the alien shield demonstration. "The energy patterns don't make sense," she said to her assistant, Dr. Peter Kim. "Look at these readings. The shield creates a perfect barrier against energy weapons, but the way it works is completely different from anything we understand." Peter looked over her shoulder at the complex graphs on the screen. "What do you think powers it?" "I think they're manipulating quantum frequencies," Amy said, pointing to specific parts of the data. "See how the shield pulses? It's not just blocking energy. It's shifting the molecular structure of anything that hits it. The energy weapons get phase shifted into a different dimension or frequency." Meanwhile, at Fort Carson Military Base, Marine Sergeant Kevin Walsh was training soldiers for a battle everyone knew they couldn't win. He was a big man with scars on his hands from 20 years of military service. His voice echoed across the training ground as he shouted orders. "Move faster. The aliens won't wait for you to find cover." Kevin watched as his Marines practiced urban warfare tactics. They were good soldiers, but their weapons were useless against alien technology. Lieutenant Bobby Clark ran up to Kevin with test results from the morning's weapons trials. "Sergeant, we fired everything we have at those captured shield generators. Laser rifles, plasma cannons, even our biggest missiles. Nothing got through." Kevin took the report and read it quickly. Every test had failed. The alien shields were exactly as strong as they claimed to be. No human energy weapon could penetrate them. What about the old equipment? Kevin asked. The stuff we used before energy weapons? Bobby looked confused. You mean like gunpowder weapons? Sergeant, we stopped using those 50 years ago. They're not powerful enough for modern warfare. Maybe that's exactly why we need them now, Kevin said quietly. In Washington, D.C., Colonel Ben Taylor sat in a secure briefing room with Admiral Park and other military commanders. Ben had fought in the Mars colonial wars and had seen how technology could fail when you needed it most. He was a thin man with gray hair, but his mind was still sharp. Admiral, I keep thinking about something, Ben said. What if we're approaching this wrong? What if the answer isn't more advanced weapons? Admiral Park looked up from her papers. What do you mean, Colonel? In the Mars wars, we had a similar problem. The enemy had shields that stopped our best, energy weapons. But sometimes the simplest solution worked when the complex ones failed. Dr. Amy Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system from her laboratory. Admiral, I think I have something. Can you connect me to Colonel Taylor? I'm here, Doctor, Ben replied. Colonel, your idea about simple solutions might be correct. I've been studying the alien shield technology all night. The shields are designed to counter advanced civilizations that use energy weapons. But what if they never encountered species that still used kinetic weapons? You mean bullets? Ben asked. Exactly. The shield technology works by phase-shifting energy attacks. But kinetic weapons, physical projectiles, might behave differently. The aliens evolved their defenses to fight enemies like themselves. Admiral Park leaned forward. Doctor, are you saying that regular bullets might work? I don't know yet, but it's worth testing. The problem is we need to test it without alerting the aliens. If we're wrong, we can't let them know what we're trying. Kevin Walsh got the secret order that afternoon. He was to gather a small team and test kinetic weapons against the captured alien shield generators. The testing had to be done in complete secrecy in the underground bunkers beneath the military base. Kevin chose 5 of his best Marines and swore them to secrecy. They moved the alien shield generator to a deep underground chamber where no sensors could detect what they were doing. All right, listen up, Kevin told his team. We're going to test something that might sound crazy. We're going back to basics. Corporal, Mike Stevens raised his hand. Sergeant, what do you mean by basics? Kevin walked over to a locked cabinet and pulled out weapons that hadn't been used in decades. Old-style rifles that fired metal bullets instead of energy beams. Pistols that used gunpowder and physical ammunition. These weapons were considered primitive even when our grandfathers used them, Kevin explained. But maybe primitive is exactly what we need. The first test was disappointing. Kevin fired a rifle at the shield generator when it was at full power. The bullet bounced off just like the energy weapons had done. The shield was just as strong against physical attacks. Maybe the doctor was wrong, Mike said sadly. But Kevin wasn't ready to give up. Let's try different approaches. What if the timing matters? They spent hours testing different ideas. Sometimes the shield seemed weaker, sometimes stronger. Kevin noticed that the alien device made a soft humming sound that changed pitch every few seconds. The shield is cycling, Kevin realized. It's not constant. There are moments when it's recharging or resetting. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had discovered the same thing in her laboratory. The shield technology required massive amounts of energy. To prevent overheating, it had to cycle on and off, in tiny fractions of a second. During those brief moments, the shield was vulnerable, but the timing was incredibly precise. The vulnerable moments lasted less than 1,000th of a second. No human could time an attack that perfectly. On the 5th day, as panic began to spread, across Earth, a maintenance worker named Pete Johnson was cleaning equipment in Kevin's testing facility. Pete was a quiet man who had worked at the base for 15 years. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew how to fix things. Pete was cleaning his supervisor's desk when he accidentally knocked over a cup of coffee. As he reached to catch it, his elbow hit the emergency release on a wall-mounted pistol. The old 9mm weapon fell out and discharged when it hit the floor. The bullet struck the alien shield generator at the exact moment it was cycling between power phases. Instead of bouncing off, the bullet went right through the shield and cracked the generator's crystal core. Kevin heard the gunshot and came running. When he saw what had happened, he couldn't believe his eyes. A simple accident had accomplished what all their planned tests could not. "Pete, what exactly did you do?" Kevin asked. Pete looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Sergeant, it was an accident. I didn't mean to break anything." Kevin started laughing. It was the first time anyone had laughed in days. "Pete, you didn't break anything. You might have just saved the world." Word of the discovery spread quickly through secure channels. Dr. Amy Rodriguez confirmed the results with her own tests. The alien shields had a critical weakness that could be exploited, but only with perfect timing and the right kind of weapon. Admiral Park called an emergency meeting with world leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a chance. It's not much of a chance, but it's all we have." The plan they developed was desperate and dangerous. They would have to coordinate attacks all over the world at exactly the right moment. They would need millions of people armed with old-fashioned weapons, fighting against an enemy that still believed it was invincible. As the sixth day ended, humanity prepared for the most important battle in its history. They would fight advanced technology with primitive weapons, and somehow, they might actually win. 3 days remained before the alien invasion would begin. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had not slept for 2 days straight. Her laboratory was filled with coffee cups and papers covered with equations. She had been working day and night to understand exactly how Pete Johnson's accident had worked. "The timing has to be perfect," she explained to the emergency council meeting through video link. "The alien shields cycle on and off every 2.7 seconds, but the vulnerable window only lasts for 0.008 seconds. That's less than 1,000th of a second." President Martinez looked tired and worried. "Doctor, how can our soldiers hit such a tiny window of time?" "That's the problem," Amy admitted. "Humans can't react that fast, but I think I found something else. The shields seem to get confused when they're hit by multiple impacts at the same time. If we fire many bullets at once, some of them might get through during the reset cycle." "Admiral," Park was listening from the UES frontier, still orbiting near the alien ships. "Dr. Rodriguez, what kind of weapons are we talking about?" "Simple kinetic weapons. Rifles, pistols, shotguns, anything that fires physical bullets instead of energy beams. The older and simpler, the better." Colonel Ben Taylor had been quietly thinking during the conversation. "We have a bigger problem. Most of our military hasn't used kinetic weapons in 50 years. We don't have enough of the old weapons, and we don't have enough ammunition. I've been working on that," said General Frank Hayes from the Army Supply Division. "We've been checking old storage facilities and museums. There are millions of old weapons in storage around the world. Hunting rifles, police pistols, military surplus from the last century." Sergeant Kevin Walsh joined the video call from his underground testing facility. "Generals, I've been doing more tests. The alien shields work differently depending on how many weapons fire at them. One bullet usually bounces off, but when my whole team fires at the same time, some bullets get through." "How many people do we need?" President Martinez asked. Kevin looked at his notes. "Based on our tests, I think we need at least 50 people, firing at each alien soldier to guarantee success. Maybe 100 to be safe." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They would need millions of armed civilians to fight the aliens. It was an impossible task to organize in just 3 days. Dr. Amy Rodriguez spoke up again. "There's something else. I've been analyzing the aliens' technology more carefully. Their shields aren't just defensive. They're connected to their weapons, their communication systems, even their life support. If we can overload their shields, it might shut down all their equipment." "What do you mean?" Admiral Park asked. "Think of it like an electrical surge. If we hit their shields with too much kinetic energy at once, the feedback might damage their other systems. One lucky shot might disable an entire alien soldier." Pete Johnson was sitting quietly in the corner of Kevin's testing facility. He still couldn't believe that his accident had started all of this. Kevin had asked him to help with more tests because Pete seemed to have good luck with timing. "Pete, try firing at the shield again," Kevin said, "but this time watch for the moment when the humming sound changes." Pete picked up the old pistol and listened carefully. The alien device made a soft humming noise that went up and down in pitch. When the pitch dropped, Pete pulled the trigger. The bullet went through the shield and hit the device's crystal core. The entire generator shut down with a shower of sparks. "That's the 4th time today," Kevin said with amazement. "Pete, you have better timing than any of my trained soldiers." "I don't know how I do it," Pete replied. "I just listen to the sound and shoot when it feels right." Kevin had an idea. "What if we could teach people to recognize the sound pattern? Not everyone needs to be a perfect shot. They just need to know when to fire." Word of Pete's success spread quickly to other testing facilities around the world. Military bases in every country began training volunteers to recognize the alien shield patterns. It wasn't easy, but some people seemed to have natural timing. Maria Santos was a police officer in Chicago. When the call went out for volunteers with firearms experience, she was one of the first to sign up. She had been shooting since she was a child and was one of the best marksmen in her department. "The sound is like a musical note," the instructor explained to Maria's training group. "When it drops in pitch, that's your moment. You have less than a second to fire." Maria practiced for hours with the captured alien equipment. Her first few attempts failed, but gradually she began to understand the rhythm. It was like learning to dance to very strange music. Meanwhile, resistance groups were forming in every major city. People brought hunting rifles from their closets, pistols from gun safes, and even old weapons from their grandfather's collections. Gun shops that had been almost empty for decades suddenly became the most important places on Earth. Tom Bradley owned a gun shop in Detroit that his family had run for 3 generations. For the past 20 years, he had mostly sold antique weapons to collectors. Now suddenly everyone wanted his oldest and simplest firearms. "I never thought I'd see the day when a 1950s hunting rifle would be more valuable than a plasma cannon," Tom told his customers. "But take as many as you need. If this doesn't work, money won't matter anyway." Dr. Amy Rodriguez made one final discovery on the 2nd day before the invasion. She found that the alien shields became weaker when the soldiers were moving. The energy required to maintain the shield while walking or running created additional strain on the system. "If we can force them to move around, their shields will be more vulnerable," she reported to the military commanders. "Hit-and-run tactics might work better than direct confrontation." Colonel Ben Taylor was already thinking about urban warfare strategies. "We can use the cities to our advantage, force them to chase us through buildings, around corners, up and down stairs. Keep them moving and off balance." The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Captain Jake Morrison, still monitoring the alien ships from space, noticed something important about their formation. "Admiral, I think I know why they're so confident," Jake reported to Admiral Park. "Their ships are designed for fighting other space fleets. They expect to fight battles in open space with energy weapons. They've never had to deal with ground combat against primitive weapons." "What makes you think that?" Admiral Park asked. "Look at their ship designs. Everything is built for long-range energy combat. I don't see any rapid deployment systems for ground troops. I think they plan to land in a few big groups and expect us to surrender quickly." Admiral Park smiled for the first time in a week. "So they're not expecting real resistance?" "Exactly. They think this will be easy." On the last night before the invasion, people all over Earth prepared for battle. Families gathered around radios to listen for the signal. In every major city, thousands of people waited in hiding with whatever weapons they could find. Dr. Amy Rodriguez broadcast final instructions to resistance groups worldwide. "Remember, wait for the sound pattern. Fire in groups when you hear the pitch drop. Don't try to be heroes. Work together." Sergeant Kevin Walsh looked at his Marines and the civilian volunteers who had joined them. "Tomorrow we're going to show these aliens that being advanced doesn't always mean being better. Sometimes old methods work best." Pete Johnson checked his pistol one more time. He was scared, but he was ready. He had accidentally discovered humanity's last hope. Now he was going to help use it to save the world. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The 7th day arrived with dark clouds over every major city on Earth. At exactly noon, the Vortex ships began their attack. Bright beams of energy shot down from space, destroying military bases and government buildings. The aliens wanted to show their power before landing their troops. Supreme Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the destruction below. "Primitive humans," he said to his officers. "They will surrender within hours once they see our ground forces." The first alien dropships landed in New York, London, Tokyo, and 12 other major cities around the world. Each ship was the size of a city block and carried 200 Vorthak warriors. The aliens stepped out confidently, their crystal bodies gleaming in the sunlight, their energy shields glowing around them. In Chicago, General Zixthon led the first wave of alien troops. Down Michigan Avenue, the Vorthak commander was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that looked like purple crystal. He had fought in 50 battles across the galaxy and had never been defeated. "Humans of this city," Zixthon announced through speakers that translated his words. "Surrender now and you will be allowed to live as servants. Resist and you will be destroyed." The streets seemed empty. Broken cars and scattered papers blew in the wind. The only sounds were the footsteps of alien warriors and the humming of their energy shields. But the streets weren't really empty. In buildings, subway tunnels, parking garages, and rooftops, thousands of people waited quietly. They held hunting rifles, police pistols, old military weapons, and even antique guns from museums. Everyone listened carefully for the signal. Maria Santos crouched behind a concrete barrier on the 3rd floor of an office building. Her police radio was turned low, waiting for the code word that would start the attack. She held her service pistol in steady hands and watched the aliens march down the street below. The Vorthak warriors moved in perfect formation. Their shields created a shimmering barrier around each soldier that deflected light and made them look like walking rainbows. They expected no real resistance from the primitive humans. "Eagle 1 to all units," came the voice on Maria's radio. "Pattern identified. Sound the call." Maria listened carefully to the humming noise from the alien shields below. After days of practice, she knew exactly what to listen for. The pitch rose and fell in a steady rhythm, just like Dr. Rodriguez had predicted. "Now," Maria whispered to herself as the humming dropped in pitch. She fired 3 quick shots at the nearest alien warrior. All around the city, thousands of other people fired at the same moment. The sound of gunshots echoed from every building, every window, every hiding place. It sounded like the world's largest fireworks show. General Zixthon felt something hit his shield and bounce off. Then something else. Then his shield flickered and failed completely. A bullet struck his crystal armor and cracked it. Purple blood leaked from the wound. "Impossible," Zixthon said in his own language. "Our shields cannot fail." But they were failing all around him. Vorthak warriors fell as bullets found their targets. The aliens tried to return fire with their energy weapons, but their attackers were hidden and moving constantly. For every human position they destroyed, 10 more opened fire from different locations. "Retreat to the landing zone," Zixthon ordered his troops. "We need air support." But the retreat was chaos. Humans appeared from manholes, from behind cars, from rooftops and windows. They fired their primitive weapons and then disappeared before the aliens could respond. The Vorthak had trained to fight armies with advanced weapons, not invisible enemies with simple guns. In London, the same scene played out near Big Ben. Sergeant Robert King of the British Army led a group of civilians armed with hunting rifles. They had positioned themselves in the old underground tunnels that ran beneath the city. "Remember what the Americans taught us," Robert told his team. "Listen for the humming sound, fire when it drops, then move to the next position." The London Vorthak force was led by Commander Veltar, a veteran warrior who had conquered 6 planets. When the human attack began, Veltar couldn't understand what was happening. Energy weapons he could fight. Plasma cannons and laser rifles made sense. But these primitive projectile weapons seemed to ignore his shields completely. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" Veltar demanded of his communications officer. "Unknown. Commander, our shields register impacts but cannot deflect them. The projectiles appear to be simple metal fragments propelled by chemical explosions." "That's impossible. No civilization uses such primitive weapons. But the evidence was all around him. Half his warriors were already wounded or dead. The humans were using tactics that no advanced species would consider. Hiding in sewers, attacking from multiple directions, using their own destroyed city as cover. In space, Captain Jake Morrison watched the battle from the UES frontier. "Admiral, it's working. The aliens are retreating in every city." Admiral Park could hardly believe the reports coming in from around the world. "Jake, prepare for Phase 2. If the ground battle continues to go well, we'll move against their ships." Dr. Amy Rodriguez was in the command center beneath Washington, D.C., coordinating the global resistance. "The shield frequency disruption is working better than we hoped," she reported. "The more kinetic impacts they receive, the weaker their shields become overall." This gave her an idea. "Admiral Park, what if we could overload their main ship? Shields the same way?" "What do you have in mind, Doctor?" "Instead of bullets, we use larger kinetic projectiles, missiles without warheads, just solid metal moving very fast. If we hit their ships with enough physical impacts at once, we might be able to bring down their shields entirely." Back in Chicago, Maria Santos and her team had moved to a new position on the 20th floor of a skyscraper. Below them, the alien forces were trying to regroup near their landing ship, but every time they formed up, more gunfire came from the buildings around them. "This is Alpha Team," Maria spoke into her radio. "Enemy forces are bunched up near the landing zone. Request coordinated strike." "All teams, this is Command," came the reply. "Focus fire on grid reference Charlie 7. Wait for the shield cycle, then give them everything you have." Maria counted down the shield humming pattern. When the pitch dropped, she fired her entire magazine at once. Around the city, hundreds of other resistance fighters did the same thing. The alien landing ship's shields flickered and failed under the massive kinetic bombardment. Without their shields, the Vorthak warriors were just as vulnerable as humans. Their crystal armor was strong, but not bulletproof. One by one, they fell to the relentless attack from the hidden resistance fighters. General Zixthon made a desperate call to his ship in orbit. "We need immediate evacuation. The humans have weapons that penetrate our shields." "That is impossible," came the reply from the ship's captain. "Human weapons are primitive energy-based systems. Our shields were designed to stop such attacks." "I don't care what they were designed for," Zixthon shouted as another bullet cracked his armor. "They're not working. Send shuttles now." Around the world, the same story was repeating. In Tokyo, office workers with hunting rifles drove alien forces back to their ships. In Moscow, police officers and soldiers worked together to trap alien squads in subway tunnels. In Sydney, farmers with old rifles picked off alien scouts from miles away. The Vorthak had never faced an enemy like humanity. Every other species they had conquered fought the way they expected, with advanced technology, organized armies, and predictable tactics. Humans fought with whatever they could find, from wherever they could hide, using methods that made no sense to an advanced military mind. Supreme Commander Zethkar received reports from all the landing sites. Every ground force was either retreating or requesting immediate evacuation. Half his warriors were dead or wounded. The primitive humans had somehow turned their technological advantage into a weakness. "How many humans are fighting?" Zethkar asked his intelligence officer. "Estimated at over 2 million, Commander. They appear to be civilians with minimal training but extensive knowledge of their local terrain." 2 million humans with primitive weapons defeated our best warriors? "It appears so, Commander. Their weapons seem to exploit an unknown vulnerability in our shield technology." Zethkar stared at the planet below. For the first time in his military career, he was considering retreat from a primitive world. The idea was humiliating, but the alternative was losing his entire invasion force. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned their weakness into strength. The battle on Earth had turned completely in humanity's favor. In every major city, alien forces were retreating to their landing ships or calling for emergency evacuation. The Vorthak warriors, who had conquered dozens of worlds, were being defeated by humans with simple firearms. Supreme Commander Zethkar stood on his flagship bridge, watching the reports come in. His crystal face showed emotions that his crew had never seen before: confusion, fear, and something that might have Ben respect. Commander, all ground forces are requesting immediate withdrawal, reported his communications officer. Casualties are at 60% and rising. How is this possible? Zethkar asked for the 10th time that day. These humans use primitive chemical weapons. Our shield should stop anything they can produce. But Admiral Lisa Park had other plans. She was aboard the UES Frontier with Captain Jake Morrison, preparing for the most dangerous part of their strategy. They were going to attack the alien fleet directly. Dr. Rodriguez, are you certain this will work in space? Lisa asked through the communication link. Amy's voice came back tired but confident. Admiral, the same principle applies. Their shields work the same way whether they're on a soldier or a starship. Physical projectiles at the right timing should penetrate. The problem is scale, Jake added. Their ship shields are much stronger than the personal ones. We'll need a lot more kinetic energy. Colonel Ben Taylor had the solution. We've been loading every available ship with solid metal projectiles. No explosives, no energy weapons. Just chunks of steel and titanium moving at maximum velocity. The plan was simple but dangerous. Human ships would approach the alien fleet and fire thousands of metal slugs at once. The projectiles would overwhelm the alien shields during their vulnerable cycles, just like the bullets had done to the ground forces. All ships, this is Admiral Park, Lisa announced on the fleet communication channel. Remember, timing is everything. Wait for my signal, then fire everything at once. Captain Jake Morrison piloted the Frontier toward the massive alien flagship. The ship was 2 miles long and bristled with energy weapons. Any one of those weapons could destroy the Frontier instantly. Jake, are you sure about this? Lisa asked as they approached firing range. Admiral, after what I've seen today, I'm sure that humans can do anything when we work together. Meanwhile, on Earth, the final phase of the ground battle was beginning. Sergeant Kevin Walsh had gathered every available resistance fighter in Chicago for one massive coordinated attack on the alien landing ship. This is it, people, Kevin announced to the 1,000 volunteers gathered in the ruins of downtown Chicago. We're going to hit that ship with everything we have. Pete, you're our timer. Pete Johnson stood nervously with his pistol. He had become the best at recognizing the shield patterns, and now the entire attack depended on his timing. I can hear their main shield generator from here, Pete said. It's much louder than the personal shields, but it follows the same pattern. The alien landing ship was trying to take off with the surviving Vorthak warriors. General Zixthon was aboard, wounded but alive. He couldn't understand how his perfect military operation had turned into a disaster. Get us off this planet, Zixthon ordered the pilot. These humans are not what they seem to be. But the ship couldn't leave yet. Its shields were still cycling through their startup sequence after being damaged by the earlier attacks. For 30 seconds, the massive vessel would be vulnerable. Now, Pete whispered, listening to the deep humming of the ship's shield generators. 1,000 weapons fired at once. Bullets, rifle rounds, shotgun pellets, and even arrows from hunting bows struck the landing ship's hull. Without its shields, the alien vessel was just metal and crystal. The kinetic impacts caused critical damage to its engines and life support systems. The ship crashed back to the ground in a shower of sparks and alien technology. General Zixthon survived, but his invasion force was finished. In space, Admiral Park watched the timing carefully. The alien flagship's shields pulsed with the same rhythm that Dr. Rodriguez had identified. When the energy pattern dropped, she gave the order, "All ships, fire now." The human fleet launched thousands of metal projectiles at the Vorthak flagship. The alien shields tried to deflect the attack, but there were too many impacts at once. The kinetic bombardment overwhelmed their defenses completely. Sergeant Kevin Walsh, watching from an abandoned shuttle, saw something amazing happen. As the flagship's shields failed, the metal slugs punched through its hull like bullets through paper. The massive alien ship, which had seemed invincible just hours before, began to break apart. Admiral Park to Vorthak flagship, Lisa announced on all communication frequencies. Your shields are down and your ship is disabled. Surrender now or we will continue the attack. Supreme Commander Zethkar looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was injured, his ship was losing power, and reports from other vessels showed similar damage. The human fleet, using weapons that seemed almost primitive, had defeated his advanced technology. Open communication channel, Zethkar ordered. Admiral Park's face appeared on the alien view screen. Zethkar had expected to see a primitive creature, but instead he saw a seasoned military commander whose eyes showed both strength and intelligence. "I'm Supreme Commander Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire," he said slowly. "I request negotiations." "I thought you said this wasn't a negotiation," Lisa replied, remembering their first meeting. "I thought we were supposed to surrender or die." Zethkar's crystal face changed color slightly, which his species did when feeling shame. "I was incorrect in my assessment of human capabilities." Dr. Amy Rodriguez joined the communication from Earth. "Commander Zethkar, your technology is impressive, but it has a critical flaw. You designed your defenses to fight enemies exactly like yourselves." "What do you mean?" "You never encountered a species that still used kinetic weapons alongside energy technology. Your shields evolved to counter advanced civilizations, but that created a blind spot for simple projectile weapons." Jake Morrison added his own observation. "Commander, I think your people have been fighting the same kinds of enemies for so long that you forgot there might be different ways to fight." Zethkar was quiet for a long moment. "You are saying that our strength became our weakness." "Exactly," Lisa said. "We humans have a saying, sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution." The Vorthak commander made a decision that surprised everyone. "Admiral Park, I formally surrender my fleet to your forces, but I request something in return." "What?" "I want to learn how you think, how you approach problems. My people have conquered many worlds, but we have never encountered strategic thinking like yours." Over the following weeks, something unprecedented happened. Instead of enslaving Earth or destroying the human fleet, the Vorthak began negotiations for a genuine alliance. Zethkar was fascinated by human problem-solving methods. "You combine advanced technology with primitive techniques," he told Dr. Rodriguez during one of their meetings. "No other species does this. Most civilizations abandon old methods when they develop new ones. That's because humans are practical," Amy explained. "We use whatever works, whether it's ancient or modern." The alliance between humans and Vorthak grew stronger as both species learned from each other. The aliens taught humans about advanced shield technology and faster-than-light travel. In return, humans showed them the value of flexible thinking and unconventional tactics. Pete Johnson became something of a celebrity among both species. The maintenance worker who had accidentally discovered the shield weakness was invited to speak at scientific conferences across the galaxy. "I still don't understand exactly what I did," Pete would tell audiences. "I just listened carefully and tried to help when I could." 6 months later, Earth was no longer an isolated planet. The human ability to solve problems in unexpected ways made them valuable allies to many alien species. Other civilizations came to Earth not as conquerors, but as partners who wanted to learn human methods. Admiral Park was promoted to head the New Interstellar Defense Alliance. Captain Morrison commanded the first joint human-alien exploration fleet. Dr. Rodriguez established research stations where different species could work together on technological problems. "The funny thing is," Lisa told Jake one day as they watched alien and human children playing together in a park, "we thought our primitive weapons were a weakness. It turned out they were exactly what we needed." "Maybe that's the real lesson," Jake replied. "What makes you different might be what makes you strong." Sergeant Kevin Walsh retired from active duty, but continued training mixed human-alien units in unconventional warfare. His first lesson was always the same. The best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't expect you to use. The galaxy had learned that advancement didn't always mean superiority. Sometimes the oldest solutions worked best against the newest problems. And sometimes, the species that seemed most primitive had the most to teach about survival and success. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by becoming more like other advanced species, but by remaining uniquely human.